All right, here we go. It's Monday. It's Q&A day. For those new, welcome. Updates from the field. We're getting dangerously close to closing on that 76 units. Guys, when you guys can avoid doing bank debt, do it. It is so much paperwork. It is just obnoxious. It's like my 10th time doing this. I have a pretty high stress tolerance. I feel stressed every day. It's like, hey, you know how you have 20, or I guess now 30 something LLCs? They're like, can we see three bank statements from each one and your operating agreements from each one to make sure you own what you say you own? I was like, oh my gosh, three bank statements from 30 accounts. That's 90 documents. They're like, oh, if we can have this by end of day. They sent that to me at 4. I'm like, guys. Oh man. When you can do creative finance, do creative finance. I hate the banks. They're a pain in the butt. However, deals are coming together. We're on our last little bit of capital on that one, so fun to see that close. I know we have a few people with deals in the pipeline, so fun to see those coming together as well. For those who are newer to the call, welcome. Rules of the game. It's Q&A day. Ask your questions. Raise your hand. We already have a few hands up here. We'll go in the order that the hands appear in the participants tab, which is usually more or less accurate. If you have an unrelated question, hop to the back of the line so that more people can ask their questions. If you have follow-ups to your original question, feel free to keep asking until we fully answered the question at hand. My first hand up is Travis. Travis, good to see you, man.
Hey man, how are you?
Very good, very good.
Good.
No
Nice.
sleep, but that's what it looks like to have a 6-month-old
Yeah, the
and to
baby.
be working from home, financially free. Actually,
Yes.
days like this, I
Yeah.
miss the office.
Yeah, right. We had to sleep train our son at that age because he just wouldn't. It was like up every hour. Just
Yeah, we're on the first tooth, so that is the
oh man, yeah.
apparently not a
Yeah.
fun experience.
Yeah, right. Okay, I'll be quick.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find out info on a 7 unit in Cleveland.
Okay.
Here's the thing. I was trying to find the owner, right? But I can't seem to find it. I went through like all the tricks and techniques and stuff.
Hmm.
And the thing that's weird is so the county it's in is called Cuyahoga County, Ohio.
Yeah.
But I go in there, I type in the address, nothing. Now it's a 7 unit. Each one has its own address. I've typed in every single address, nothing. I skip traced it and it gave me like a tenant from one of the units. Any
Okay.
other idea?
On the county assessor level, is there like a parcel map where you can at least click on it so it can give you some information on?
No, it literally like I type in the address
Yeah.
and just nothing, not even, yeah, no info whatsoever.
How
It's
do
super
I
weird.
just say I will do some independent research on this? I can usually find them. How do I? Let me grab my keyboard here. What is the name of the county?
It's spelled Cuh, sorry, Cuyahooga.
Thank you. I grew up in the Seattle area, so all of our names are tribal names. No one knows how to say anything where I
Yeah,
or
right.
spell anything where I grew up either. Everyone's like,
Yeah.
"What's a Puyallup?"
Yeah.
So I get it. Or Squim, spelled Sequim. Yeah, we have some weird ones. Okay, so I have typed that in the chat for myself. I will take a look to see what resources there are at the county level. I'm gonna put that on my notepad here as well. Apparently, my computer's just dead set on all caps today. Take a note and Control V. Okay. I have that set aside as a note. I'll do some digging as to what
Okay.
they have in the way of map resources.
Yeah.
Almost every county. If you're remote enough, sometimes not, but usually there's some sort of map viewer where you can at
Yeah.
least find the parcel, click on it, and sometimes it's spelled a little bit differently, or they decided to address it in a way that doesn't exactly match up. I've seen that
Right. Like
happen.
it's on West 24th Street. So I tried it spelled out and I tried it just with a W. And the
Yeah.
thing is, it's not rural, it's in Cleveland, it's in the city.
Huh.
Um, so it was weird.
I'll
Yeah,
bet you we can
and
find some sort of interactive map. That's what I'm looking for, so I can just click on the parcel and see how they named
yeah,
it. Because I have had that happen before. I actually had a property that had two different addresses for no apparent reason. And so some of the county systems had it as one, some of it had it as the other cross street. It was a corner lot, and they just decided to give it two addresses. It was very confusing.
Huh.
So I will take a
Oh, so
look.
you were you saying like zoom in and literally figure out where it is on the map and see what if you can click it? I didn't try
That's
that.
usually what I'll do. If they have any
Okay.
interactive map on the city level, I'll
Yeah,
just go find it on the map and click the parcel, and that usually gives me the data I'm looking for.
got it. I'm zooming in on it. It's not it doesn't look interactive, but at least it gives like a parcel number and maybe I can do it that way. So
That's a
I
good
can
start. That's usually what I'm looking
okay.
for is like what is the city's map? Because they might have
Yeah.
some number associated with it that's just a little like sometimes it's sensitive and it's off by like a digit.
Yeah. Okay. Here's another quick question.
Yeah.
I texted you real quickly about it on Saturday. A wholesaler has it, right?
Yes.
I don't think he's able or going to be able to make anything happen with it. And the owners are super difficult, I guess. They did one showing, that was it. And we're like, look, the guy gave me an hour's notice. My contractor couldn't get there. I'm not
Mm,
in town. Contractor called. The guy was like, nope. And the wholesaler said he's like super hard to deal with, blah, 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 blah. And they had to have non-refundable EMD in today, right? So I'm pretty sure he's going to lose it. I said to him, like, look, like if you could put me in touch with the owner, I'm super interested in it, but there's no way I'm not going to do due diligence. So let
yep.
me go directly to the owner. I'll sign anything. I'll commission you. No problem.
Hmm.
And he's like, okay, well, let me see, and I'll get back to you. And he hasn't yet. So how shady is it to try to go around him and be like, hey, listen, if this falls
I would
through,
always give it some time. So I don't always share this piece of the backstory, but the first deal that I did in Stephenville, the way that I found Stephenville is someone had reached out and they were wholesaler and they wanted to sell me the deal. And they actually wanted help putting it together, and I did help them put it together. And then they got nervous. They're like, oh, I'm just gonna try to wholesale it. I wasn't interested in the wholesale. I waited about 2 months after they had lost the listing before I reached out directly to the owner and put together the deal. And it was a fantastic deal that they should have closed. They
yeah,
got nervous about it and decided they wanted to try wholesaling. And then they failed to wholesale.
blew
I,
it.
I always try to be polite. By the way, they weren't in the mentorship group. If they were in the mentorship group, I would have done that. But wholesalers are a little frustrating because they're trying to make the easiest dollar possible. And some of them want some insane assignment fees. A lot of them will want insane timelines because they
Yeah,
often what happens is they did something usually mildly underhanded, where the seller doesn't really know that they're wholesaling
right,
it. They're trying to
right.
hide it, and they're like, "Well,
Which is what I
how am I going to
figured.
get through due diligence?" It's one of the things with wholesalers. I don't want to compromise any of my process to make a deal come together. I'm okay to wait. I wouldn't just out of good business practice. I wouldn't just jump right around them and call the seller. I would let it breathe for a moment. If it doesn't transact, I would come in maybe 30, 60 days later if it seems
Yeah,
like it lost its momentum and be like, hey, just cold call out of the blue, pretend you don't know that they had it under contract at any point, just come in. It's like, hey, do the normal owner call. That's what I did,
yeah.
knowing that they were likely to sell the building. Flew down to
Right,
Stephenville, met them, and uh, he laid out his terms, and I was like, oh, this is only possible through reverse AM. This will be the first time. This will be a good story. Let's do it. So that's how that deal came up. Be polite about it. You want a good name in your market,
sure.
uh, but also wholesalers are kind of like they're
Sharks,
kind of the
yeah,
bottom of the barrel for me. So I
yeah.
don't give them a ton of love.
Right. Okay, cool. Thanks, man. And then hopefully I can find the owner. We'll see.
Yes, yes. I'll take a look at the county map and see if I can't find a good way to find parcels easy in that county. It's usually some sort of clickable map they have somewhere.
Okay.
I
Oh
usually
yeah,
type in
Bartek
like
sent one. I'll take a
county
look.
name, parcel map, or county name, GIS data, or any of those things. It's usually attached to the assessor's site for the county.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I'll do some independent digging as well. The only
Thanks,
places
man.
I've had sincere difficulties in finding owners, there are areas of New Jersey that are just really freaking hard. And LA County specifically has like bonus protections for owners that make it hard to find. Outside of that, it's usually pretty easy everywhere if you get comfortable with the county. So I'll try to figure that out for you as well.
Cool. Thanks.
Absolutely. Phil.
Hey, evening, afternoon. Um, So convince me not to. Why? What? Give me the reasons not to start a property management company.
Ah, yes.
Because I've got a couple of contractors and who has a bunch of guys that are all working for me. I mean, I've got like 6 or 7 people all running on the building, and it's going fantastic. And I'm picky about contractors. I've had quite a few of them working on different properties, and these guys I like. We're all working well together, and I've got some other people in my sort of sphere of influence that are looking for work who would be really good property managers and just office, keeping on top of all the detailed stuff. I'm like, oh, this would be fairly easy. And then on top of it all, I'm considering, well, okay, if I'm going to expand from here, there's that growing pain where you get to like 20 units. And then how do you grow bigger without paying somebody else to do all the work for you?
Yeah.
I'm
So
just trying to future proof my process.
okay, I'll do a couple arguments against. Number one, you have to simultaneously either be or have people in your org who are good at managing contractors, managing tenants, which is totally different mindset, and amazingly accurate with accounting. You have to understand how to credit and debit everything, how to log it in the system, how to track every dollar in, every dollar out in a software way so that your distributions, especially if you do third party, they're always perfect and always balanced, which is a lot of work with a lot of units. Customer service heavy. The biggest reason that I wouldn't do it is because you are married. My wife tells me all the time, if there's one company we could cut, how do we get out of PM? It takes the most time and it yields the least money. I love the control of
Yeah,
7 p.m. I've made in my company the last week was pain. I did 7 hires throughout my companies last week, which is way too many people. In fact, my last hire, I hate hiring so much. I hired an HR person who's in charge of my hiring now because I was like, well, what is my least favorite task? Hiring people. Let's hire someone for it. Um, it it takes a lot, and it's the people management I've always found is really hard. You have to get the right compensation models, and it's a lot of work, and it's just a different type of work. If you're
yeah,
managing your own portfolio, it's nice to kind of have your own contractors and you can self-manage pretty well for a extended period of time. If you want to take on third party, it very much has to be like you want to be in PM. My favorite part of property management is I love acquiring other PM companies. It is so fun for me to come into a market and be like, I could build it or we could rate it. And rating it is fun because there's everyone in the market is like, oh my God, I hate PM because everyone hates big at PM. So you can take all the little, the little companies that have like 60 units. They're like, oh yeah, we got some houses, we got some multifamily. I just bought one for $15,000 and they manage 35 units. And I really bought it because they have an employee who's based in the market who's very competent in the software that I use. And the units bring in just enough revenue where that talented employee is effectively free. So I
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
add any income to my top line, but I added enough, or I added a top line. I changed nothing on the bottom line, but I basically got an employee who covers themselves. That sort of piece of the business is very fun because it's not hard to be the best manager in the area. I found there's a lot of PMs that suck. I like competing. It's my favorite piece. It takes a lot of time, there's a lot of headache, and when something goes wrong in the books, which is like it's not often, but occasionally you're like, wait a second. I had this happen last week. I have a whole accounting team on this, and they asked me to distribute $28,000 more than we collected in rents to owners. I was like, I want you guys to think about this. Your job is daily bank recs. In what universe does my company write a check to send out rents that we haven't collected? That's impossible. And the whole team, oh, well, that's a good point. We didn't think about that. I'm like, I pay you guys $3,000 a month to think about that every day. That how could you possibly be off? And so those headaches are my least favorite headaches in the business. I don't want to go behind an accounting team and audit the auditors.
I'm same. Yeah.
So if I'm trying to talk you out of it, it is math, it is liability, And the only other big reason to talk you out of it, I am suing the property manager for my Houston property. The only one that I don't manage myself. I'm suing them for $280,000 of damage that they did to my building
Holy crap.
because they expressly lied to me about a bunch of things and they lied to the neighbors about water. We had a water leak out the side of a building. Water bill went up 15x, and when I reached out, I was like, "What's going on?" They're like, "Oh, we've addressed it. It was a internal leak thing." They called the neighbors who their parking lot was flooded, told them, "Oh yeah, we've already worked out with the city. It's all fixed." They just let it leak for 60 days. I got a bill for it was close to 300,000 gallons of water.
Oh,
A pipe for 60 straight days, straight rocketing water out of the side of a building. Uh, Annihilated the siding on my building, flooded the parking lot, messed up some of the foundation. And,
holy smokes.
and then when we fired them, they're like, "Oh, we lost all of your keys. Also, we may not have done all of the unit turns that we said we did." I was like, "Wow, you guys are so amazingly sued." So I'm in like full. My partner
Litigation
on that
mode.
happens to be a attorney, which is really convenient. But we are in like full blown litigation because they botched the daylights out of it. And I talked to the owners of the company. It was one of their regional managers' new employees who they assigned to this 10-unit property. And so, as the owner of the company, they're like, "We had no idea." I'm like, "I don't care. You guys caused an immense amount of damage having no idea." Uh,
Holy smokes.
so those are all the things that happen in PM, right?
Yeah.
If someone underneath you screws something up monumentally, it
It's
can be
on your
very,
shoulders.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a painful business with high liability. If you mess up anything, there's a lot of laws, right? There's landlord tenant laws, there's escrow account laws. So there's a lot of legal to know. I found it's usually more headache than it's worth. It's nice to outsource it. That being said, the money in PM is made by amassing a large PM company, getting great staff, great systems in place, and selling it once it's huge.
Yeah, I'm not so if it broke even, I think I'd be happy. It's more I want control of if I could have, 2 or 3 or 400 units under management in an area. Now I've got control of rents.
Hmm.
That's where it becomes attractive.
That gets really fun. That's what I did in Moses Lake, and it worked. That's it, to a large extent. That's what I'm doing in Stephenville, and it's working. You
Yeah.
do have to acquire a lot in an area to do it. I'm still able to do that through the PM in Moses Lake, though, pretty well, though. I own enough where I can coordinate with them, and I chose a PM where I work with them really closely. So it's still multiple calls every single week with that PM just because of the amount of property we have there. It's not that it's no work, but I don't have the liability. I don't have the headache. I don't have the payroll. I don't have to do the distributions, the owner communication. If you can find a great PM, I always recommend people do that because it makes the job easier on you. The only reasons to become your own PM is if you're going to aggressively expand and you want to one day sell the company. You can actually make a ton of money doing that. Um, or if you temporarily want control of an area, if you're like, "Hey, I just want to go take over. I want to control these rents. I want to get this market to a certain place I believe it can be. And once it's there, I'm going to find an awesome buyer for this company." The main purpose of PM, in my opinion, is to eventually get out of it. That is you don't want to give yourself a job in PM.
Yeah,
It,
that's what
it's
it's
lowly compensated. When you're like, "Oh, I'd be happy with break even." I'm like, "Good. You'll be lucky if you get there."
re-
Uh,
really the whole thing boils down to I've got this group of guys that I really enjoy working with, number one, and they're doing a good job and they have the right mindset. It's like, oh man, I want to keep them busy so that I can keep using them as I need them. But if it takes another 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 months to buy the next property, shoot, I don't want them going off and getting busy doing other things, and then I get put on the back burner because I'm just another number.
Yeah,
Um,
I get that. I think the way I would stack it, and it's totally up to you because I obviously chose to do the thing that you're thinking about doing. But since the mission is talking you out of it, I would wait till you pick up another building or two, and then
Yeah,
like, hey, do I have enough work and enough efficiencies here where I really want to go and control the surrounding properties? I think I would get a little deeper in the portfolio, focus on the acquisition, and
yeah.
preserve your
I
time.
do realize it's cart before the horse, but I'm just trying to future proof things and think ahead and set myself up for future. Just I don't know, just sort of the way my mental process works. Think 5 steps ahead and try and calculate what it's going to take to get there.
Yeah, for me, I know my strategy is take over Stephenville, take over Waco, and the millisecond my PM company could be sold for $5 million, sell it immediately. That is my pure driving factor. Get big enough and enough systems where I'm like, hey, if I sell this to someone who will retain my book of business, I've built a good enough system, a good enough employee base where it's unlikely that they will screw it up. That is the mission. And then have a clause in there that indicates, hey, as part of your job here, you have to keep these buildings X amount occupied. Otherwise, I am allowed to come in and take these back, and put them under my own management again. You always put a floor on it of you will retain my business for X amount of time unless you fall below this occupancy threshold, in which case I can
Take
freely exit and my non-compete is null and void. That is the way
so
out
then
of this.
you'd have to start all over from ground one, ground
Yeah,
zero
but I
again.
own 35% of my PM company. I've outsourced all the roles that I didn't want, and I'm still too busy in it. So it's $5 million valuation. I'm like, I will walk away after taxes with 7 figures if I cash out. That's my number to say adios to PM and never do it again. So
Uh,
it's
how
hard and it's low margin. You usually make more money just focused on acquisition and outsourcing.
how helpful was it to have the control of the area though?
It was
Like,
helpful, but I'm still able to influence rents there a lot just by being close with my PM. So being a good
yeah,
manager of my PM let me do functionally the same thing. What it helped me do that I am grateful for is it made me a better coach for this class because I've been in every unit. I've had the super rough tenants. I've done the evictions. It was really good for me in the multifamily strategy role. It's been amazingly instrumental. As a landlord, I don't know that I think I would have made more money if I just focused on like, hey, how do I build systems around the management so I can focus on acquisition? I probably could be twice as big. And so if I was if I found a team that was 90% as good as I am at managing, but I had twice the portfolio, arguably that would have been the better business model.
yeah, okay, that sounds more appealing to me, to be honest. I mean,
It less work is better. It always sounds
yeah,
good to do more work. By the way, I'm hovering on this topic because I'm passionate about it, but it sounds good, especially as an entrepreneur, which most of us, we're here because we want to build a rental business. We're entrepreneurs. It gets tempting to be like, hey, I can do this and I can compete with this and I can put in the effort to do well. The problem is you end up with so many companies, you have no time.
yeah,
I was really bummed. I set aside a month to take off when I had my kid, where all I was going to do was coach multifamily trade. I wasn't going to do anything.
now get
I,
like
I
a
got I
couple
got
days.
2 days and 6 hours off.
Yeah,
That was my entire paternity. I did not get to spend time with my newborn son. I went right back to work. I had too many roles. To the extent you can avoid that, it's a good idea, except when everything works at the same time and all of a sudden you're like, I wanted to start a rental portfolio and you know teach a mentorship group and have a YouTube channel, and instead I have 43 employees and a resort and all this other stuff. If you can
so
avoid the less businesses that you can build and the more that you can outsource cost effectively, I've noticed those people tend to do better and scale faster.
yeah,
So
how do you propose then to get past the growing pains, to sort of get from 20 up to 50 to 100 units without, like, okay, you're not bringing enough in to have people full time. Like, I'm not going to be able to pay these guys full time, keep them busy all year,
yeah,
um, until I get to 100 units or something like that.
when you get around, so self-managing and just using contractors in your local area usually works pretty well up to around 30, maybe 50 if they're really close together and you're good at it. 30 to 50 is where the self-manage, just run contractors usually works pretty well. The next step that I started doing is bringing in a part-time employee who's compensated with reduced rent for a unit. And so that's how we opened up Waco. I brought in Londo. He has free rent. He pays his electric. And the only reason he pays that is because he has to be paying something for the bank to consider it an occupied unit. That's the only reason.
Oh,
So
got it.
it's a
Yeah,
+1 to occupancy. He pays only electric, and he's paid off of leasing fees. But in exchange for him living there, he also will use his truck to haul trash and to post notices. So he's a presence at the property. So I found you can scale pretty far with part-time on-site. And when it's one out of, when you're scaled to 50 units, when it's one out of your 50 units is a reduced rent that allows you to operate easier.
yeah,
It ends up being a really cost-effective way of running that. You put them in, whatever unit seems best in your building that tends to have the highest vacancy, because you're like, well, if I always have a little bit of vacancy here, let's just fill one of those with this person, and now I have that seems to be the most cost effective way to scale. And then as you get more, more stuff to do, you can either hire another part-time person who has more skills, or you can continue to grow that person. So I did that with Corey in my company as I scaled her to my regional manager. Londo now heads leasing for Urath County and whatever the heck county Waco's in. I don't even know. Is Waco County? I don't even know. I should know that. But for the city of Waco and for Stephenville and surrounding areas, I have a guy who's really good at leasing, and so I have him take over leasing in my company. So you kind of expand based on who's on your bus and moving people around to the right seat on the bus. But when you start, just try to keep costs low. Is the main thing. It's so easy to let your overhead come up
too
and
too late for that.
it's so easy. It's so easy to want more systems. I always end up spending more money on systems whenever we're like break even. I'm like, okay, we just need to acquire one more building. We can afford this awesome software and it'll do all my distributions for me. And so I tend to overload the overhead for efficiencies. So I'm always built as a bigger company than I am,
Yeah,
which is also tempting to do. So these are all good questions when you're building the rental business. To the extent that you can build slow, add the pieces you need, and be really methodical about it. I tend to just go like, what's all the software we're going to need in the next decade? Let's just
yeah.
onboard it all right now, and then we're done. And
That's sort of my way of thinking as well.
yeah,
Is
it's wrong. That's not the right way to
why
run the
why
business.
half-ass it when you can whole ass it?
Yeah,
Pro-
the reason is because you'll pay the full ass
yeah,
price, and you haven't
for a
built your
much
whole ass
longer
business
period of
yet.
time.
Yeah. So one thing at a time, try to keep the expenses in proportion to the amount of work you have. And sometimes this is true for everyone. Sometimes you have great people. And sometimes you have fantastic people in your universe, and it's just not the right time to hire them in. And it's like, oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah, that's where
Uh,
I am. I'm
I had a
like,
banker who is just amazing, and he would have left his job and worked for me, but I was like, it's the wrong time. I'm like, maybe a year out, having him on the team would be exactly what I need. Great person, once in a lifetime opportunity to snag him. Wrong time in the business. You just got to say no. And Steven, to your question on how you find a Londo, Londo, funny enough, uh, this is one of the few blessings I've had from the mentorship program. He was one of my earliest mentees. He's bought a deal, and he happened to be when I was posting about managing in Waco. He was the leasing officer that did. They brought the two adjacent buildings on the same street from 50% occupancy to 98% occupancy. I was like, you just leased this street. You literally are the most qualified human on planet Earth for this building. He's like, no way. He's like, I'm between jobs. So that's how you find Alondo. You post on well, now the school community is the easiest way to post for anything. But you tell everyone what you're doing, and then people reach out and go like, "No way, I work down the street." I use the same thing I told everyone else to do. I posted in the Facebook group and in the school community, "Hey, I'm managing in Waco," and someone in Waco in the community reached out and said, "Hey, let's get together." I know there's people in Houston who will help me out too. I posted needing a contractor because that PM just destroyed my building. Awesome guy, not even in the mentorship, just part of the general community. A guy named Jesse came in and fixed the building, posted my notices for me. He got me like he just straight up helped me when we needed it. He just came in. I'm like, I have no contacts, and my PM burned me, and I was using their contractors. So I have no list of contractors. I have a Templex, and I've never been to Houston outside visiting my sister once. I have nothing. He drove out and got my building back to serviceable. And he speaks Spanish, and apparently so do all my tenants. So I'm like, I can't communicate with them. I don't know how to collect rent. The building's a wreck. He's like, I will post your notices. I'll post them in English and Spanish. I'll rekey your building. I'll get you back to like a functional property. Um, that's my own advertisement for the school community. If you're not in there, post away. I try to be in that one every single day. If anyone, last service announcement on this, by the way. If anyone ever gets frustrated on the course, all the like messaging on that, I hate the course messaging because it posts it in whatever section you're in. Do the school community for like the communicating. I sit in there because I can see every message. It's such a better interface. Mighty Networks is way better and frankly much more affordable for Christian to host all of our lessons. Use the course for the course. Use school for community. If you do those two, you will have a better experience in multifamily strategy. I had that feedback this weekend, and someone's like, "It just feels like the community here's dead." I'm like, "Ah, good point. Yes, that is not the community platform. I should really advertise that." Multifamily strategy on school. The Facebook group's also a few thousand people. Both of those are much, much, much more active. All right. Jumping to the next one, Lucas.
Hi Christian.
Hello, hello.
So I'm still working on that deal in West Point.
Hmm.
I called the housing authority. They told me they would pay 920 for 2 bedroom, 1 bath,
That's pretty good.
which
It's
is
not
what they all
950,
are.
but it's pretty good.
But they would only pay 870 because all the Section 8 units are single tenant units. And so even though they're 2 bedroom, 1 bath, it's only counted as one.
Interesting. Did they say why is it a square footage thing?
No, they just said because there's only one, because they're single tenant uh leases, I guess. I don't know.
Very
Which
interesting.
870 still works.
Yeah.
The margins just get tighter. They also said that uh only half or a little over half were Section 8. So the listing agent I was talking to did not have their numbers right.
Okay.
I sent them an email and they haven't gotten back with me yet.
Well, so I do like the 870. I would have, as I was going through the process, I'd have some pushback on housing authority and FMR does not list, and the voucher program itself list prices by bedroom, not by how many tenants are on the lease. So if they lease them all on like a 1 bedroom voucher and that's how they decided to do them, I can get it. But if you place anyone new in that building from Section 8, my assumption is they need to place it as a 2 bed. Even if it's a single person, I just let them know, hey, this is a 2 bed. If you place a single person in a 2 bed, you're paying the 2 bed FMR. I don't care whose voucher you put in here, but this is what's available. That would be more normal. I suppose if they've worked something out with the prior owner or that's how they're running it, 870 still doesn't suck as far as what you needed for your numbers. Then the remaining units, I would just price them accordingly to that. So I do rent bumps even on your market rent people. I would just push to that number and you'll probably lose a few and keep a few, and that's usually what happens.
Okay. So basically, would that be when the lease is up for the tenants, then switch it to 2 bedroom? It doesn't have to be a new tenant, right?
It doesn't have to be a new tenant. I would push to that. So when their lease is up, I would talk to housing authority, but this is a 2 bedroom unit. I don't want to lose people, but this really needs to be leased as a 2 bedroom. If you guys are willing to pay the 2 bed rate, I would negotiate with housing authority on it. Just
Okay.
like, hey, this is what it needs to do.
Yep. Um, Also, the number I have in right now for monthly maintenance and repair is
Yeah,
$1,000 a month. Does
yeah.
that seem high?
Remind me how many units again?
It's 8 units built in 2001.
2001. 2001. That actually probably is a little high. Um, Condition of building, does it look like it's in really good condition?
Yeah, I mean, it's not bad at all.
I would say for that age, I'd probably this is like the napkin math, right? It's going to be
Uh-huh.
market specific. So I'd look at their actuals if you have them. If you don't, I would estimate probably 75 per door per month.
Okay.
So you actually probably could lower that closer to 650, 700, somewhere in that range. A little less than 800 a month should be good.
Okay. I was hoping that was a number that I might be able to move a little bit
Yeah. Because
because
everything's
with
still fairly new, and with building codes in the 2000s, you're not going to have galvanized steel pipes. You're not going to have super old electric. Um, it's old enough where I'd like to see when they last repaired the roof because that's it's not a young roof if it's the original. If they've replaced it anywhere within there, then you're great.
yep.
But generally speaking, nothing should be too old in there. Most of the stuff built anywhere in the 2000s, building codes got a lot better.
Okay. What I mean, the housing authority told me they couldn't tell me how many Section 8 leases they had. Because I asked them, they said not all of it was Section 8 leased, and they were like, well, we can't tell you that. You'll have to talk to the owner.
Oh, housing. Usually they're fairly helpful. Sometimes they make you go through. Either way, as part of your due diligence on this, when you're under contract, you're gonna need to review all the leases, so you'll know who's Section 8 and who's not,
Okay.
and it will show up in the rent roll. That can also just be part of the due diligence of like, hey, I need one of your stubs from the housing department. Like when you get a housing check, they send you one check and it has a breakdown of every tenant and how much they paid. So I just want to
Okay.
see like one screenshot of one of those just so I can see the housing breakdown. It's really nice to reference those.
Okay. Can you put an offer in before you have any uh bank funding or
Yeah,
before you're qualified or anything?
yeah. In fact, I always do that. I'm still
Okay.
technically not qualified, fully qualified for the 76. We're finishing the final Fannie Freddie stuff. We'll be fine, but it's the last step is getting the approvals there. So
Yeah.
very normal to start
Um,
going through the process. If you run into a snag, there's so many different fixes for bank qualification. I don't worry too much about it on the front end. If it's a good deal and the bank likes the deal, you can always figure out the pieces you need for the qualifications.
yeah, well, they're not gonna like this deal, so this one, like you said, would have to be one that I managed for a little while to fix the rent.
Yeah, one thing I would do early on. So either simultaneously with trying to put together your offer, I'd be reaching out to some local banks and getting a feel for, hey, this is where the deal's at. Where do you guys think I'm going to fall out lending wise, loan to value? I want to know that on the front end, and that's an easy conversation with them. So just with the books that you have, you should be able to send them your analysis, like, hey, here's what I'm buying day one. Here's my pro forma where I'm trying to get it. Where do you guys think we're going to fall out as far as getting approval? And a bank should be able to give you a rough guess. Usually, a lender is going to look at it, and usually on that call, they're going to uh, they're going to give you some feedback there on, hey, I think it's going to be 70% loan to value, or I think we can do 80% loan to value. They'll give you a couple of scenarios that they think is going to work. As long
So,
as you can tell a good story with it, they tend to they tend to be more flexible. I've had some deals that you wouldn't think would be bankable, but I got 80% LTV because I was like, look at this is where we're going to take it, and I absolutely know we're going to get there. Here's how I'm going to do it.
so
I've had
you're talking about how much they would loan you on the property?
Yeah,
Okay,
because
okay.
that affects the down payment, which is a
Yep, okay.
huge piece of what it takes to close the deal. So
Yep.
that's all stuff that I want to know going in.
Okay. Um, well, the do you think I should ask the listing agent about the management, where I would take over management for a few months? Or do you think that'd be something where I ask him if I can talk to the seller directly? Did
I would go through the broker until he gets to a point where he suggests for that type of thing. I would go through the seller until you get to a point that they specifically suggest that you connect with the owner. Generally speaking, if
Okay.
it's listed, you're working with the broker throughout the whole process for again, for the most part.
Yep. All right. Well, that gives me an idea. I might show the deal again tomorrow, with some updated numbers. So
Perfect.
I think that'll work. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I will find the link, by the way, to the school community. I post it on my Instagram all the time, but we still, even though we have more members than almost any of these multifamily groups, we're actually one of the bigger school groups now. We don't show up when I search our basic name, which is very frustrating. I'll figure that out with my team. I will pull that for you guys here though in just a second. While I do, let's get to our next question. Which is going to be Garrison.
Hey, Christian.
Hey.
So, looking at the property and I'm trying to run rental comps on it. So if I ignore the couple streets that this property is on, my comps come out to be about $100 higher than the local neighborhood. Based on the research I've done, I think it's because there is an owner that owns the majority of the two streets, minus a couple properties. And their rents are incredibly far below market. They purchased I think it's 68 or so units just a few years ago. And they're renting well below market, in my opinion. I actually found some of their current listings from their PM. Kind of looking for insight. Should I be basing my analysis on what I see in terms of like the market in the area, or should I be bringing into account, the local owner that's next door that is choosing to rent like probably about $100 per unit under market? The reason I ask is it's either a deal I would consider or would not consider. It's the difference between, a unit renting for like $950 a month versus they're renting like $825 to $850 for very similar units.
It depends on how much vacancy the neighboring properties have. So if you're competing with someone who's just like similar inventory on your same street that's leasing
Yeah.
for less than you,
Yep.
that's a significant factor. That played a factor in our hotel conversion in Moses Lake. We have to offer free internet, which I didn't expect, but all of the other hotel conversions in Grant County have internet included in the lease.
Right.
I learned that partway through, and it's not actually all that cheap to do. And so I was like, oh, that's a bummer. I had to factor that in. That's something my direct competition's doing at the street level. But if you're talking like there's a fourplex that's leasing for, $100 under market next door to you, the good news is if they're $100 under market, they're going to lease right up. And once 4 units are filled, they're no
Right.
longer competition. So I would weight it that way. I would look at market rent and all of your data from market rent, and then I'd determine how much underpriced inventory is on your street. If it's just a little bit,
Right.
just assume it's probably going to get filled and
Yeah.
not as important. If it's a bunch of vacancies with that, it's like, oh, now we might actually have a legitimate problem.
Yeah, and I've been trying to get a hold of the PM. I've had no luck yet. They don't pick up the phone, which is quite surprising, and they have 3 units listed up for rent right now at the what I would consider low pricing. So I don't know if they're just horrible at marketing and those are already filled, because some of them have been online for quite some time, or if there's something I'm missing. So anyways, just wanted to kind of see what your thought was, but I'll keep investigating, trying to get a hold of the PM that has these properties listed to see if there's some backstory there. But I haven't been able to find anything about, I've looked at crime for the area, trying to see if are those two streets, is there issues or problems that have been reported, and can't find anything. And have talked to some other investors that know the area, and none of them think it's, a bad neighborhood or anything that would be causing the rents to be that low.
Yeah.
I honestly think it's just an owner that bought really cheap. I found sale data. They bought 68 units for 1.9 million. Right after COVID, it was like June or July of right after COVID hit. So I think somebody probably got scared and fire sold, and somebody got the deal of a lifetime.
It always pains me when I see deals like that in my market. Right before I bought our 38 for $2 million, someone bought a 56 unit on a better street for $2 million.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh my goodness. I thought I did a good deal. They
Yeah.
did some deals are just stupid. There are some stupid deals out there.
Yeah. So from their perspective, they can afford to rent them for $100 under market and keep them occupied because they're probably doing just fine. But okay, yeah, I'll keep taking a little more and increase my confidence level there. But
Yeah, if it's just like three units and they're likely to get filled,
yeah,
I would be a little bit less worried about those. And like again in smaller multifamily, it's more if there's like a bunch of those or there's like a 30-unit complex and there's 10 vacancies and they're all underpriced. You're like,
yeah, no, it's nothing like that. There's three listed right now. If I go look on, I think I found them on Zillow. I think there's one that's recent. The other one's been up for a few weeks. The other one's been up for like a few months, which makes me think they probably just didn't take it down.
yeah,
Um, so my gut is telling me they're just bad at marketing, and those are maybe not available except the ones that are just getting listed. Uh, but hoping they actually pick up the phone so I can at least ask them the question. That would probably solve my problems. So
yeah. No, appreciate that.
yeah, you
Yeah,
think?
I think you'll do well. I think you'll do well with it. I wouldn't worry too much about it, but it is good
Yeah,
to note.
yeah, for sure. Cool. Thank you.
Absolutely. John, by the way, school community link is in the chat for anyone who's looking for it. I'll
Thank
figure out
you.
how to SEO that better so it actually shows up when we search multifamily strategy as well. But if you guys go to that link, you guys can join right there, and you are in the greater school community. That one is the best messaging platform, period. All right, John.
So I'm still working on this 12 unit near Austin,
Mhm.
and I've got the price down to essentially $1 million in a 12 unit. I have two loan commitments from two separate credit unions. They're basically calling me every single day, ready to close this deal.
Yes, I like
Um,
that.
well, the numbers work out really well, right?
Yeah.
Um, I still need to raise, 200,000 for the down payment. However, the property itself, when I was providing all the documents to the bank, rent rolls, T12, the whole nine yards, everything's ready to go, everything's good. Well, when I asked for estoppel agreements, I found out that the property actually has four long-term tenants, four month-to-month tenants, and four vacancies.
Ah.
So I was okay, no big deal. I can raise market rents by filling the other or basically putting the other eight units on long-term leases.
Mhm.
So the fastest way to do that would be Section 8 with the housing authority. So I called the local housing authority. They have 300 to 400 currently outstanding vouchers for 2 and 3 bedrooms, which is this property is. So getting the vacancies filled will not be a problem. However, the housing authority told me they don't have any funding because their funding has been paused, allegedly. So I'm not sure really how to navigate that one. It's not something I've ever heard of outside
Oh,
of like
I
maybe
have
they're just
news on
out
this
of money.
actually. I have news on this. This is I'm going to be filming. I'll probably be filming all week on this. So Trump just announced, he is. It's not passed yet, but he is planning on cutting 40% of housing's funding, and he's pushing for a. And I actually think globally, this is personally apolitically to left or right. I think this is actually probably good policy for America. He's going to be pushing a lot more power to the local housing authorities to come up with their own programs and their own state funding. The logic being there are some areas of the country in particular where there are just a ton of professional unemployed people. So what they're trying to eliminate is so here's what they're pushing. I've been researching this week. They're going to push for a 40% reduction in funding for Section 8, which is a lot. They're also going to try to limit the vouchers to 2 years. So for example, I have a tenant. His name's Tony. He's a great tenant. He's super helpful. I can't employ him to do anything or pay him over $600 a year because as soon as he gets income, he can't afford his medication, which is paid for by the state, and he can't afford his housing, which is paid for by the state. And there's a lot of other people out there like Tony who they're like, I cannot be a productive member of society because I can't earn more than I get on the free state and government benefits. This legislation is supposed to eliminate that. So Things I like about it, they're going to sideline a whole bunch of money for kids out of the foster program to buy their first house. That's like just universally good shit. I like that. I like that for America. As a landlord, kind of a bummer. As my free pool of tenants that the government will pay for will be a little bit limited. So I do think, while I actually think this is amazingly helpful legislature for like not training people to be dependent on the government and taxpayer dollars to survive, it is going to make Section 8 a little weird. So I think you're going to see a lot more of this with housing authorities getting pinched, where they're not going to receive, if this all gets passed, they won't receive as much funding. I also, outside of what is getting passed right now, I keep having housing authorities that have really bad management. And so they will keep running out of money. And they're like, we have no money. We misbudgeted. We have to wait for the government to refill us. It's all government backed checks, so they come in. But I've had housing authorities be late, particularly this year, because there's a whole bunch of bureaucrats who got used to the COVID rules, which is unlimited money as soon as we ask for it for no reason at all. I had an $8,000 check during COVID hit my account for someone else's tenant, like someone else's building somewhere in Grant County. And I did the right thing and I called in. I was like, this person's not in our portfolio. Like, oh, I know. We just sent out this, like, we did this all over the county. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these checks that we sent out to the wrong person. Don't worry about it. Just keep it. We don't have the manpower to figure out the accounting. We have no idea how to fix it. I was like, hooray, 8 grand, cash flow. That's how
Crazy.
much faith I have in our federal systems. So, yeah, lots of news on that, but actually expect a lot more of that. So when you're looking through an underfunded housing authority, when there's like in particular when they're like right now letting you know like, oh yeah, we're out of funding, that would be one of the areas where I'm like, okay, I wouldn't rely on it. You might still be able to use them as your basis for pricing if FMR is relatively close to market rent, but I wouldn't count on getting them. They may or may not actually work out.
Okay. So it's obviously in the secondary market.
Yep.
There are larger and slightly newer apartment complexes in the area.
Okay.
So this particular property was built in 2000, it was renovated in 2023, right? It's not a
Nice.
bad property, super low maintenance. Like insides look nice, livable conditions, no problems. Um, I'm curious how I can navigate either the negotiation side of it and make the current owners sign up someone or basically put the month-to-month people on long-term leases
Yeah.
for the deal to go through, or do I try and just beat them over the head even more because I'm already up 200,000 on this deal anyway, the negotiation. But the it's I don't think I'll have a problem filling the units so much. I just think it's going to take a little bit more time than I had initially planned. So the bank's ready to go. The financing's there. I still need to raise the down payment, but I have some pause on the vacancies and some of the month-to-month tenants.
I what I've always found is on the month-to-month tenants, I'm glad there's people in it when I'm closing, and those usually they're the easiest ones. So if we have to do rent bumps, we'll get everyone on leases relatively quickly anyway because they're month to month. So like my first order of business, putting them on my own paper, I kind of prefer that they don't put them in long-term leases before I close. I always put that on my contracts. They can't do any leasing activity without my permission while we're under contract. Just because
Okay.
I don't want them placing new tenants in there. I don't want them writing new annual leases on a different lease than I want to write it on. I want everything to just be so I wouldn't worry too much about the length of leases unless the bank's specifically concerned. I wouldn't worry about that as much because that's gonna be just part of your management. The vacancies, if you can, I might ask for a little bit more off the price just because you're getting less income than you originally had agreed to. They may or may not say okay to that, but that may be. I'm really hesitant to let them do any of the leasing. I don't like that. I don't like any other party messing with the leasing at all before I take over. So I wouldn't want them to fix the problem. I would want to be compensated for the problem if you can.
I agree. And that's kind of where I was heading to because they don't have a property management company. It's literally a husband and wife that manage it themselves. But since they're an hour or so away, well, about an hour away from the property, and this is their smallest property they own, I don't think they really care much about it. They don't have any debt on the property, so they're not like hurting for the cash flow.
Yeah.
But it's been on the market for 9 months at this point. So I think I can go in pretty aggressive and still get it done. I have enough income to cover the leases or the vacancies myself. But now it's a matter of how quickly can we get them filled? Because right now everything's on like the lower end of the market rents in the area,
Yeah.
but they have a lot of options in some newer like larger buildings per se. They have more
Yeah.
amenities, I guess. Um, but there's only two other complexes in the area that actually accept low income housing.
Okay, well, I do like that. I do like that. So if there's a demand for low income housing and there's not a lot of people on the program, that's why I did in Stephenville. That's why it works so well. There's like no one on the program in Stephenville. So when I came in, I was like, every voucher for ERAF, mine, amazing. So I do like that. So when they do have budget open, you'll likely fill very quickly. That's good. What I would do is I just push for a seller credit. I think I probably wouldn't adjust the price because the price is already the price. I would just say, hey, reasonably, this was the income I was expecting. If we're assuming that we have 60 days to fill these 4 units, you know, I'm just saying, well, what is our rent loss there and reasonable marketing fees? It's not like a huge credit, right? But it's saying, hey, what's the rent of 4 units for 2 months plus, $500 to market these? If you guys can give that to me as a seller credit at the end, just towards my closing costs, that would be awesome. And that would be a great that'd be a good negotiation. That should cover you for your actual loss of having those units vacant.
Yeah, because they still have 300 to 400 outstanding vouchers that they can't fill at the moment.
Oh, love that. Love
So now I
that.
just need to I just need to raise the down payment of 200,000. I'll be good. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah. And the nice thing is that cuts down that cost to close. If you can get a little credit towards that, doesn't suck. Could just be like $15,000 or something, but it does help, and that's cash right back in your pocket, which always feels good.
Sweet, thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, close that deal. Sounds. This sounds like an awesome property. Travis.
Okay, I'm back real quick. So Bartek hooked me up. He found a link. That link, I was able to get the parcel number, plug that
Yes.
into the assessor's thing. It gave me the info. My problem now, so I plug that into open corporates, but it gives me for the directors and officers, it gives me like a, agency of service type company.
Okay.
Yeah. And
These
then I
ones
looked
are
at the Secretary of State business thing, and it doesn't even show up there, which is weird.
interesting.
I
I
spelled it
actually,
different
on a lot of my
ways, did all
LLCs, if
that.
I'm not actively doing anything, like not only do I have them filed by someone else, I also I just let them expire until I have to do some paperwork on them. Like, oh, I'll reactivate it. Uh, they I try actively to not have people blow me up all the time, just because
Yeah.
of size of holdings. So here's what I do. If you found at least so you found who filed it. Do you at least have the LLC name that owns it?
Yep.
Okay. My first 5 minutes, I would Google everything I can think of with the LLC name and that area. So I'd type in like
Yeah.
city name, that LLC, county name, that LLC,
Yeah.
phone number, that LLC, email, that LLC, and try to find some contact information on it where it's going to give you the next hint.
Yeah.
So that's just like search engine spamming it. Uh,
Yeah.
if you run into the
I've been
LLC,
trying all that during the call since
okay.
the last.
If nothing works, because there are LLCs that are basically impossible.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
and I own a few of them. I have a couple where the design is that you literally can't find them.
Sure. Yeah. Totally get it.
So if it's filed by some agency and there's no iteration of anything you can do to find them, the only option you have is to reach out to the agency and just say, hey, it looks like you guys filed this for the LC. I'm a property owner nearby. I had a quick question for them. If you could if I can pass on my contact information, you
Oh,
can
right.
call me. And
Yeah.
they will actually, I found it's pretty close to 50% of the time for me. they actually do pass
Okay.
on the information. I do get some email back, even if it takes some time.
Yeah.
That's actually funny enough. Big long roundabout way. That's how I tracked down Jordan Belfort's numbers. I'd called someone from a company that he had filed forever ago, and they eventually
Right.
connected me with him. And then he's like, "Oh, I don't know anything about real estate." He's like, "But my CEO does," and so he connected me with his CEO, and we since done one deal together. But
Nice.
like, I even had it where I'm like, "This is a big name person. I'm trying to get their contact information." Called an agency. They called someone who got me in touch with them. So it is doable. That's the last resort. I found this like 1 out of 10 LLCs probably fall into it's probably about 10% ish fall into the like you just cannot figure out who the contact is. And
Yeah.
in that event, you go through and you call the agency, and so you know
We'll give it a
probably
shot.
50 on whether the agency actually is helpful, but that's the
Sure.
next step if you can't get anywhere else.
Okay, cool. Thanks, man.
Yeah. I've had Caleb's gone to the tenants and just said, "Who the heck owns this? How do you guys contact your ownership?"
All right.
And they connected him to the PM, and he went through their PM and went to the
Oh,
ownership. I
right.
mean, you could
Yeah.
force the issue. Caleb's a bulldog, which is why I love him. Caleb's a
Yeah.
lot more aggressive than I am, but like Caleb is like he's like, "Hey, it's not a no unless they've said no 10 times." Uh,
Right.
he's
Yeah, because when I
aggressive.
skip traced it, pulled up tenant info. And you can, yeah, like Google pulls up tenant info, but
Yeah, I try not to call tenants, but sometimes I
yeah,
get texts. But that's one where if I have like a phone number, I'll text them, or if there's an email, it's like, "Hey, it looks like you're at this property. I've been trying to get a hold of the owners. Curious if you happen to have contact information." There's a lot of different ways to get through.
yeah,
This is why this group, like multifamily strategy, our method works so well, is because you can't do that if you're mass dialing a list. So the people that we get in contact with are the people where you have to put in the little extra work. Doing this one property at a time, call one or two people a day method, you get to call the people who don't get blown up all the time because they are a little harder to find. All
right,
the
right.
AI software is getting stuck the exact same place you are. So if you do that one extra step, that's where you move from being outsider to insider. I found these are like the best leads when they do want to meet with you and they were hard to meet.
Yeah,
You're like, oh, I'm in now. It's good stuff. So I hope that you end up finding them. But that's your next few steps. It sounds like you've done a lot of the googling. Come up with a couple
yeah,
other creative ideas on what you could throw in the search engine. If you're not finding anything, call the agency. It's the only other clue you have.
yeah. All right, thanks, man.
Absolutely. All right. Well, wow, we're like on time, and there's no hands up. It's a miracle. Okay, you guys all have the school community link. Join that. That thing is, I'm investing a lot of time into that. I'm using that. I'm trying to use that thing like Hermosa uses Twitter. Like I have a great idea. I'm like, oh my gosh, this thought needs to be documented. Everyone needs to know this. I put all my notes in that. I try to respond to every single person's post. So that's the community wise. I think that's where most of our capital raising is going to happen. So for those who are like, hey, where's my money? That link is there. I will refilm the intro video to the course probably tonight or tomorrow. I will get that filmed in there, and so I'll add some links to the school community, and I'll make it very clear in the videos in there. I don't always answer your questions in Mighty Networks because it goes all over the place and they're hard to track. I do my best, but it's hard. School, I get alerted on my phone. It's like receiving a text. It's so unbelievably user friendly for communicating. So if you guys want to communicate there, and as always, my number is the Zoom code. So everyone, no one can ever come to me and say, I didn't know how to get a hold of you. You can always text me. I am available. My number is 425-336-9332. It is the Zoom code. You guys can always reach me with questions in the meantime. Tomorrow is Deal Deep Dive Day, my favorite day of the week. I already know we have a few deals we're looking at. Um, I'm super excited to do some underwriting. There's a lot of good deals out there. I'm also seeing a bunch of good deals come up all over Texas. I've actually seen like good deals listed on Crexy recently, which is a rare occurrence. So I am excited about some projects. If you guys don't fill the calendar, I'm going to just underwrite some deals live with you guys because there are some deals that need to be done that are just sitting there right now in the market. So very, very excited for tomorrow. Bring your deals. I don't care what stage you're in, but if you haven't brought a deal to the call, I would find a property that you're sincerely interested in and run through it. I think there's a tremendous amount of value in pitching on this call and then actually going into a meeting and being like, oh, I've already done this presentation in front of 30 to 50 people. I think I highly recommend everyone does that. I noticed the people who pitch the deals end up being the same people who buy them. Sarvanan, I'll give you the last hand here and we'll call it a day.
Yes, Christian, thanks for your messages today. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And a quick question, suggestion, clarification about the school. I tried to register with it a couple of times. So it looks like the profile picture is a requirement. So without that, it's not letting me continue further or go ahead with the registration or look at any of the. So can the picture thing be made optional?
I will see if I can make it optional. In the meantime, just choose any Google image that you would like to insert there. I don't think it has to be anything specific. So,
Oh, I
choose.
thought they're expecting a profile. I mean, picture of the person, and
I think it just needs a profile picture. I'll see if I can make it optional.
Yeah.
That's my dev team. They're back in town tomorrow. I share a marketing team with Chris Voss and Andy Elliott, and they're always like at their events and not doing my stuff. I will reach out to the tech team and I will see if they can make it optional. In the meantime, choose your favorite Disney character and toss that in there. Let's see some Lilo and Stitch or Mandalorian. It's not a big deal. Just put whatever picture you want in there.
Yep.
If
Sure.
that's a requirement, we'll let you skip that.
Yeah, sure. That'll be great. Thank you.
Perfect. All right. We'll see you guys on tomorrow's call.
Thanks, Christian. Bye.